All right, this is the exponent rules. It's pretty simple. You know, you really only have three major rules to follow, but you need to follow them. It's not complicated. When you're multiplying the letters, you're going to add the powers. 3 and 2 are not letters, so you would just do 3 times 2 here. Now, when you do x9 and x4, if you were to write them out, right, that's 4 x's, x. There's 9 of them there. You're counting how many you're multiplying. So you have to add 9 and 4. It makes 13. Now, when there isn't a power, you got to put a 1 there, right? So you're doing y3 times y1. You know, I mean, this is what it is. There's 4 of them, right? You're just counting how many times you're multiplying that letter by itself. So you add the powers together. Very, very simple. Now, division is just subtraction. Though, if you look at the numbers I chose, yes, 12 is divisible by 4. But you're not dividing the number 12 by the number 4. You're dividing x to the 12th by x to the 4th. So you have to subtract the powers. And you have to start with the bigger one. Now, here's where people get into trouble. If you wrote it out, right, there's only 3 y's on top, but there's 6 of them on the bottom. As you start crossing them out, I don't want to write them all. These 3 upstairs are going to get crossed out completely. The y's are going to be left on the bottom. So you have to start with the bigger number and do 6 take away 3. You do not do 3 take away 6. That is negative. We have not defined negative powers. I will mark it wrong every single time until we have defined negative powers. You know, and at that point, you have to write your answer with a positive exponent anyway, right? You're not allowed to write negative powers. So on top, you're going to do x12 take away x4, 12 minus 4. So you get 8. And on the bottom, you just do 6 minus 3, right? You get 3. It's very simple. You are not dividing the powers. It does not work that way, right? It's complete nonsense. But that I make them divide to see if you're going to fall for that dumbass trap. So just don't. Okay, so I'm going to do 3. I skipped 4 and 5 because technically, you know, it's combining basic like terms, and I do it a little bit in number 6. Here you're doing a power to a power, but there is a number there. Now, look, I would not like you to do this, but this is what it means to do something to the 3rd power, right? This thing here is being raised to the 3rd power. The minus 2x5 is being done 3 times. You're multiplying it 3 times. This is the reason that you have to take -2 and do it to the 3rd power. I mean, this is really what you're doing. You're taking each of the things inside the parentheses, which is -2 and x5, and you're raising each of them to the 3rd power. This is just -2 times -2 times -2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. When you have an odd number of negatives, it's always negative. Now, when you do power to power, look, there's 5 there, there's 5 there, there's 5 there. That's 15 of them, right? So when you do power to a power, you multiply the powers. The exponents get multiplied, all right? Very simple. When there's a number there, just multiply that number that many times, whatever it was. If that had been 4, I would have had -2 to the 4th power, which would have been positive 16. Now, here you have to do one step first. I want to point out that, you know, that trap is there. It's very easy to look at these 3s and just go, ja, just cross them out. Yay. But it's nonsense, right? 3 plus 6 is 9, right? 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 over 3 is 3. When you cross out those 3s, though, you get 7, right? 1 plus 6. I mean, I'm assuming you put the 1 here. If you don't put the 1 there, you get 6. If you put the 1 there, you get 7. No matter what you do, it's dumbass and it's wrong, and you can't do it. You cannot cross out if things are separated by pluses or minuses. So it just doesn't work, right? That's the fraction rule. So you have to take the things on top and hope they combine. Unfortunately, since they have the exact same letters and powers, you can put them together. And the rule was you add the numbers in the front and you keep the letters the same. It's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make. Remember what I said in class? If you have 3 apples and 2 apples, this is 5 apples. I don't know what the hell an apple squared is. This does not work. This is nonsense. Right? 3 apples, 2 apples, 5 apples. The thing doesn't change. All you're doing is counting how many of the thing you have. You don't alter the powers when you add or subtract. They will change only when you multiply them. Now do the division. 9 divided by 3. These are numbers. So there's no rule except to divide them normally. Here you're doing x2, take away x1, subtract them, get x1. Here's y1, y1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Well, what about it? Y to the 0 is 1. Just cross them out, right? You're dividing something by itself, right? Very simple. All right, so I'm going to do 7. Then I'm going to jump all the way to 15. They get a little redundant at this point. And on that sheet, I also mixed in some of the, basic combining rules, which is, I'll do it a little in the next, when I do the combine video. So this is very similar to 6, except one major difference. This is not addition or subtraction. This is multiplication. So again, you deal with the top before you mess with the bottom. Just pretend that it's not even there, right? This is your goal. This is just like question 1. You're going to multiply 5 and 6 together and make 30. You're going to multiply x2 and x2. I realize I wrote my 2's differently. I can't get out of this habit. It's a terrible habit. I write my 2 like this, and I write my 2 like this. And I do it in the same question. So when you have x2 and x2, right? This xx, xx. This is why you add. So you get x4, right? That's the rule. Add the powers, get x4. y3 times y3. Add them. Y6. It's Y9. It's not Y9. You don't multiply. Right? You do not multiply the powers. You will here. So divide by 2, x2, y5. 30 cut in half, right? 30 divided by 2 is 15. You have x4 over x2. You got to do 4, take away 2, which leaves you with 2. You have y6, take away y5. 6 minus 5 is y1. You don't have to write the 1. I'm going to write it there for emphasis. If you don't like it, don't write it. Right? But it's y to the first power. Right? When there's nothing there, it's an invisible. Now, this question is in the homework because I knew that most people would not get up to 15. So I think it's exactly the same in the homework, but that was by design. So I wanted, this combines all 3 of the rules: multiplication rule, division rule, and the power to a power rule. So, you can do it together. On the top, you have y10 and y9. That's y19. On the bottom, you have to leave that y5 there temporarily. Here you have to do y squared 8 times. So it's like y2 multiplied 8 times. So you have 16 of them, right? You do 2 times 8. That's the rule. Multiply the powers. So you get 16. Now you can add them. So you have y19 on top. 16 and 5 make 21 when you add them. Now, very tricky. It's very easy to screw this up. If you picture crossing them out, see, this is where people will get into trouble. If you had something like this, right? y2 over y3, I want to show you what's going to happen. Those cross out, they make a 1. Those cross out, they make a 1. You are left with a single y on the bottom. But what is on the top is a 1. So when you do this, when you subtract 21, take away 19, the answer is not y2. The answer is going to be 1 over y2. Right? You do 21, take away 19, and put that on the bottom. So to be very careful there, it's very easy to screw that up. You have to realize that when the top crosses out, it leaves a 1 there. Right? Just like if you had 2 over 4. 2 over 4 is not 2. Right? It's 1 over 2, a half. So you have to be very careful when the top of a fraction crosses out completely. There's a 1 there. Now, I'm going to do one last one. And then, like I said, beyond that, they're very repetitive. Now, if there was ever a question that was a good exam question, it's this one. Because it shows me that you really understand how to subtract them, where they go. But the first thing to notice is that you have 2 numbers here. Now, this is the reason that we dealt with fractions earlier, right? You're always looking for the largest number that divides into these evenly. This is why a lot of people will just cross them out and write 2/3 there, because in their mind, they just do 24 divided by 12 and 36 divided by 12. I showed you how to do that by writing it out instead of doing it in your mind. Now, some people are comfortable doing it that way. Some people will just say, okay, divide by 12, 2. Divide by 12, 3. That's fine. Not everyone can do this. Not everyone is good at the mental math. So, if you need to write it out, write it out. And if you don't spot that they're both divisible by 12, you will eventually get here. If you did 4 and 6, and then you did 6 and 6, and you cross those out, well, cut it in half, 2, cut it in half, 3. You will always get where I get. It's just a matter of time, right? You may have to break it down a couple more steps, but big deal. You'll eventually get the same number. All right, so whatever you want to do there. Now, the letters are very simple. You're going to subtract them, starting from the larger. I have more W's than I have on the bottom than I have on the top. So I'm going to do 11, take away 8, put that downstairs. I'm going to do 7, take away 3 for the x's. That's 4. I'm going to subtract 13. Again, you're going to go for the larger one. If it helps, circle the bigger one. This is where you start. I'm going to do 13, take away 5. That's 8. And then I'm going to do 14, take away 6. That's also 8. I don't like that. So here's a major hint. When you see this question on your exam, the powers are probably going to be, the numbers will be 2/3, right? And then you'll have 4, 5, 6, 7. Some weird shit like that. I tend to like to make the numbers like that, like the powers of 4, 5, 6, 7, or something along those lines. I certainly don't like that they repeat. And if that happened on a test, you did one of them wrong. I would never, ever make them repeat. I don't like to do that. All right. So like I said, that's basically the sheet. The problems after that, it's variation on the same theme. It's very repetitive. It's doing the same thing again and again and again. Just watch the rules, watch the powers. Remember, no negative powers. Not yet.